Good morning, SIS students of grade 8 math, and welcome to another exciting Reachback video answer video. We'll start right away with question number 1. It says Mark is wanting to have a box professionally wrapped for shipping. It's going to cost 5 cents per 100 centimeters squared to wrap any object you bring in. So how much will it cost to wrap this box? So the first thing we obviously need to do is figure out what is the surface area of this box, and we're going to do it the simple way today. I'm going to say that one face is a square, and the formula for the area of one face would be side squared, or 40 squared, or 40 times 40, and that is going to be 1,600 centimeters squared. That is the area of one face. But of course, a cube has 6 faces. Those are 3, and then there have the matching faces there. So we're going to multiply this by 6, and we're going to get 9,600 square centimeters of area for that box. Now, if we go up top here, and we go back to how much it costs 5 cents per 100 centimeters squared of area. Oh, where'd I go? I lost my page. There we go. So what we need to then do is say, well, if I divide this by 100, that'll be 96. It'll cost him 96 nickels to wrap the object. So 96 nickels, because there's 96 100 centimeters squared. 96 multiplied by a nickel means it's going to cost $4.80 to wrap without tax. Now to get tax, there's 2 ways you can do it. Let me get my thing out here. Hang on one second. To get your tax on an object, you can do one of 2 things. You could say, well, what is tax, which is 15%? 15% of 480. And you could say, well, 10%. We move the decimal and we get 48 cents. 5% is half of that, which is 24 cents. So therefore, 15% would be adding those together, which is 72 cents. Take your 480 plus your 72 cents tax, and you get a final answer of $5.52 with tax. That's one way you could have done it. My favorite way of doing it is saying, if 15%, if I multiply $4.80 by 1, I get $4.80. If I multiply $4.80 by 0.15, I get the tax, which was 72 cents. All right? Now here's the cool part, and some people forget this. If you multiply by 1 and 1.15, then what you get is you get the amount you started with and the tax together. And watch this, through the miracle of calculators on YouTube videos. 1.15 multiplied by $4.80, your answer is $5.52, which is what we got down here. But you do it in one step. Multiply the whole thing by, move it over a little bit here. Come on. There you go, 1.15. Okay, so your answer is $5.52 with tax, $4.80 without. Question number 2, Scott wants to know how much wire he needs to use. So this, of course, is a right triangle. So I'm going to redraw it over here without all the fancy pictures. We have a leg of 10, a leg of 2, and a missing wire hypotenuse. 2 ways you could have done it. You could use a formula. I always like just using the squares here. Put your area for each square. If 10 is the side length, 100 is the square's area. If 2 is the side length, 4 is its area. Pythagoras said the area of the squares attached to the hypotenuse equals the area of the square. Sorry, attached to the legs equals the area of the square attached to the hypotenuse. So 100 plus 4 would mean this square attached to this wired leg, or this hypotenuse leg, has an area of 104 square meters. And therefore, the length of x, that was the worst erasing job ever. The area, or the length of x, is going to be the square root of 104, which is 3. No, I did something wrong there. Let's try that again. 104, which is the square root, 10.2 roughly. 10.2. And therefore, he needs 10.2 meters of wire. Brilliant. Question 3, after a party, there were 2 party pizzas left over. Pizza had 3/4 remaining, and this pizza B had half remaining. The owner said he'd make you an offer. Which would you rather? Would you rather half of what remains of pizza A, or 2/3 of what remains of pizza B? Which gives you more za? Let's take our eraser here. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I'm having hard technical difficulties today. Let's erase this. So, when it says half of the 3/4 that are left here, that means half multiplied by 3/4, which means that if you were allowed to have half of this, and I'll just draw it again here, this amount here is really 3/8 of a pizza, right? Half of 3/4 is really 3/8 of a pizza, or just a little bit less than half of a pizza. Now, 2/3 of this, let's just make thirds here. 2/3 of this, well, they look pretty close, don't they, in area? They look close. But I'd have to say, what is 2/3 of half a pizza? And again, I'm going to translate this into multiplication. It's going to be 2 over 6. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. In lowest terms, that is 1/3. And now I'm like, oh, well, what's more? Is 3/8 more, or is 1/3 more? This requires us to look deeper. How do I figure out what fraction is larger? Is 3/8 larger, or is 1/3 larger? In order to compare them, we need to have equivalent fractions with the same denominators. So we're going to make equivalent fractions out of these two, and the denominator we're going to choose to use is the first multiple 3 and 8 share, which is 24. So 3/8 is equal to how many 24ths? The answer is 9 24ths, right? And 1/3 is equal to how many 24ths? It's equal to 8 24ths of a pizza. Aha, I told you they were close. So the answer is, which one's more? Having half of 3/4 is more than 2/3 of half, because you get 1/24 of a pizza more by taking option A. Question 4 says, which equation has a greater value for x? So we're going to isolate the variable in both. I'll just take my handy dandy moving tool, and I'll just move B over here. And we'll solve. The constant here is 10, so what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides, leaving with 2x equals -5. Divide both sides by 2, and x will equal -2.5. Over here, I'm going to add 10 to get rid of the constant because it's negative. I have x over 2 is equal to a +5. And when I multiply by 2, x equals 10. So which equation has the greater value of x? B. Its value is 10, where x's value is only, in the first one, is -2.5. Question 5, Michelle is getting donuts for a student. So what we're going to do here is we're going to find out what is the unit rate, or the cost of one donut for all 3 places. So we're going to start with Tim Hortons. And the cost donut rate that is given to us is $10.40 for 12 donuts. That is its rate, or its cost. In order to figure out the unit rate, we want to figure out the cost for one donut. And that's pretty simple, because we're going to divide both by 12. Grab my handy dandy calculator. You thought I was going to say notebook. 1040 divided by 12 is equal to 87 cents approximately. So it's approximately equal to 87 cents per donut if you bought it from Tim Hortons. If you bought it from Rubens, it's going to be $4.80 for 5 donuts. And we're going to divide both by 5 here. Divide by 5 and divide by 5. Could I have my handy dandy? That's right. Notebook. Divided by 5 means it is 96 cents per donut. I'm just going to put per D. So far Tim Hortons is cheaper. Robbins is more expensive. But then the last one, Bacon Donuts, hold on, it gave us what the price was. It says it's 75 cents each, or for one, which means its rate is 75 cents for donuts. And, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, it is the cheapest place to buy donuts. And the last question of the day is question 6, which gives us these two questions and say which is greater, this expression or B's expression. So we're going to simplify it using BEDMAS, and we're going to say, well, negative 10 plus, I have to do my multiplications first. If I grab my highlighter, what is the product of these two here? So 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And since the plus sign is here, I have to put a negative 8 here, because 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And when I add them, I get a negative 18 sum. So the value of A is negative 18. Same process for B. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. But this time, because the subtraction sign is here, the negative 8 is in brackets, and when I use opposite, adding the opposite to solve my subtraction, I get a negative 2 for an answer. And therefore, which is greater? B is the greater. So, hopefully you did well on this. Hopefully you made notes of things you're making mistakes on. As always, if you're having any difficulty, make sure you contact your teacher and ask a few questions, clarification questions, because sometimes in the video, rather than make it 2.5 hours long, I kind of gloss over some concepts. But if you are having difficulty, make sure you talk to your teacher. As always, stay safe, wash your hands, and if you can, don't let your boomer parents drive you crazy.